Okay, just wait till the sheets have been distributed. How I'm doing? I've got these in mind. Okay. You've got it? Everybody got? Have you got around here yet? Anybody not got sight of your sheet? Because it won't be great if you haven't. Um, okay, thank you very much. Hopefully technology will work this time. So good morning, everybody. I wanted to share with you what I thought was a very insightful piece of drush on it's actually connected to something for next week's siddur rather than this week's siddur, but Stephen assured me that wouldn't be a problem here. And it also actually aligns with something to do with Hanukkah, which is coming up shortly, in case you hadn't noticed. But I want to share with you a topic which I saw in the writings of Rabbi Baruch Halevi Epstein, who was the authored a number of important works. The best known one is called the Torah Tamima, which is a sort of running commentary on the Torah, but linking it with places in Shas where particular possible something is discussed. And but to get to it, I have to take you through a bit of background, and then you'll see how he's, I think, very cleverly woven together a number of things to make a consistent whole. I perhaps start with the last source on the page. I'm going to come back to that afterwards, but just to put this into context, most of the major festivals have a masechta, have a tractate in the Talmud of their own. So for Pesach, there's Pesachim. We have for Sukkot, there's Sukkah. For Yom Kippur, there's Yoma, and so on. Hanukkah does not have a masechta to it. So even though Purim does, Purim has Megillah, but the laws of Hanukkah just span 2 pages, 2 dafim in the Gemara Shabbos, and it comes up in the parak of Bamei Madlikin, which we were supposed to say on Friday night. I do, but looking around the shul, not everybody seems to bother with it. But Bamei Madlikin is introduced there because it's talking about the lighting of Shabbos candles and so on. So it sort of fits in with Friday night service. And in the middle of Bamei Madlikin, there's like a digression, and it talks about the laws of Hanukkah. And the 3 lines at the bottom there, so it says like this: Ner Shel Hanukkah, the candle or the oil lamp, which of course they used in those days of the Hanukkah, Shehinicha Lamala Me'esrim Amot. If a person placed it more than 20 amos high, that's about 30 feet, right? Kasula, it's invalid. It's not like right. Kasuka u'kumofli. It follows the parallel dinim with the laws of sukkah. How high can the sukkah be? And the mavli. I'll come on to explain this in a minute. V'omer Rav Kana, and Rav Kana said, Dorash Rav Nosson bar Minyumi Mishmeid Rav Tanchum, that Rav Kahana explained, said that he explained the Rav Nosson bar Minyumi propounded in the name of Rav Tanchum. My dichsiv, what is the meaning of the verse in the Torah, which we'll see not in this week's but next week's siddur? You remember that we'll see it in context in a minute. Haboy rake ain bo mine, that the pit was empty and there was no water in there. Says the Gemara, since isn't it implicit, since it's told us that the pit was empty, Then I realized straight away from that statement that there's no water in there. So what is it? What is the point of mentioning Ein Bo Mine, that there's no water in there? Mayim Ema, yeah, there was no water in the pit. Aval Nachoshim V'Rakrovim Yesh Reva. There were. It was full of snakes and scorpions. This is probably familiar to you, but the question that the Teretz Mima asked is, why pinked in the middle of discussing the laws of Hanukkah, is this drosha stuck into the Gemara in Shabbos there? So let's go back now. I'll take you to the top of the page. I'll learn the following sources. Now, there were certain circumstances in which a person had to bring what's called olas oath. That's a burnt offering, but it's a bird, like a dove or something like that. So the Torah says, if a person is required to bring a bird as a korban, it was a burnt offering, could be various circumstances. One might need to bring there certain things like a korban olav that the korban that a person might bring could depend on their financial circumstances. If they're a rich person, they might bring a large animal. If they were not so wealthy, they bring a smaller animal. If somebody really couldn't afford, if they buy a bird, you have to buy it in the marketplace and then bring it as the korban. So min vehikriv min atorim min b'nei Yonah is korban, and he brought his offering from doves, turtle doves, whatever, right? Vehikrivo hakohen al mizbeach. So the kohen has to bring this near to the mizbeach. U'malak es rosho, and these little birds, they don't get shchita, they get malika, which is basically the bird is held in a way so that the neck is, or the back of the neck is exposed, and the kohen has a large fingernail that's been sharpened up, and you can sever. Sorry to put you off your croissant. But he severs the neck of the bird in this way, all right, and the hiktium is brings it to it is near to the mizbech, and he offers up the head that's been now removed, will be offered up together with the body. And the blood will be squeezed out over the wall of the mizbech, of the altar, because unlike a mammal, where the heart is pumping and the blood spurts out. Again, sorry breakfast. With these little birds, there's not very much blood. It just kind of oozes out, and it has to be applied to the side of the mizbeach. Then after that, the innards of the bird are removed with its feathers and stuff. The hishlich also eitel mizbeach kedmo, and he has to throw that down by the side of the mizbeach on the east side, el mekom hadeshen or hadoshen, to the place where the deshen. This is where various bits and pieces have been cleared out from the mizbeach, and also from the hatovas haneros, when they cleaned out the wicks and stuff from the menorah each day. So those bits and pieces were placed by the side of the mizbeach. I've given you a diagram there to show you what's happening. So this is a diagram of the mizbeach. Where I've highlighted it in red, that's a little man. It's supposed to be the Kohen, and he's brought the bird up this side ramp onto, and where he's standing is it's called the sovev. It's like a platform that goes around on three sides of the mizbeach, and so he applies the blood of the bird to on the corner of the mizbeach as shown. He rips out the innards of this bird and throws them as indicated onto that little square that's hatched and so it's unfortunate that's shaded there on the ground. And there's a miracle with this area, because put this stuff on there every day, and it somehow miraculously got absorbed into the ground. But that's where it had to go. Now, here is the Mishnah in Talmud, which explains this as follows: Misha the person, the Kohen, they had to do a kind of almost like a sort of a lottery, pious every day. So there's a certain number of Kohanim that were serving the Beis Hamikdash throughout the week, and they would draw lots to see who did which particular jobs in the Beis Hamikdash each day. So the one that got the Trumas Hadeshen, he was the one that had to clear off the ashes and so on. So Holach leMizracha shel Kevesh ke'es Amma. So he would walk to the eastern side of the Kevesh is the ram, right? About 10 amos away from it. Sabar esakacholim al gaber. He would gather together some of the burnt out coals onto the floor. Rochak min hakevesh shlosh tefachim. So this shaded area is 3 tefachim away. It's maybe about 10 inches away, whatever it is, from the actual ram. Makom shenosnim mur osa'o, and this is the same place where they put the innards of the bird. V'dishon mizbeach, and the clearing out of the altar, happening at the inner altar. The hamanora on the menorahs. All these bits and pieces were placed in that point. Now the point is that the verse there, where I've highlighted, it says v'hishlichas, he has to throw it. Says the and the principle also in the Mishnah, the Gemara there says ein hashlocha pachas me esrim amma. Whenever it says hashlocha, you've got to throw it. It's not less than 20 amos. So I didn't do the triangulation from where the Kohen is standing to where the place has to throw him to, but that distance is 20. Has got to be at least 20 amos. Okay. Now we come to the passage in the Torah, the relevant passage in the Torah. So, and then Bereshis Perek Lamed Zayin says like this. So Yosef is coming. His father sent him out to see how his brothers are doing out in the fields or whatever, and they see him coming. They see him coming towards him, wearing his coat of many colors. So they want to kill him. The brothers want to kill him. They're seething with jealousy or whatever. Now let's go. Let's kill him, and then we'll throw him. Same verb, who we're going to throw him into one of these cisterns, one of the pits there. And we'll say that he was attacked by a wild animal. And then we'll see what's going to become of his dreams. Vayishma Reuven, and Reuven heard this plot. And his intention was to save Yosef from being thrown into the pit. And he said, "Lo nakenu nafesh, let's not kill him. Let's not kill him." Reuven said to them, "Al tishbechu dam, let's not shed blood. But hashlichu esel habar, let's just chuck him into this pit. Asher b'midbar, which is out in the middle of nowhere. Biyad al tishlichu, let's not physically harm him. Lama, and it's interesting where I downloaded this, put this bit in brackets, but it's in the thing in the Torah. Laman hitzilo somi yodam, because his intention was that he was going to come along later and save them from them. And to restore Yosef and take him back to his father. When Yosef, so as Yosef approached his brothers, they divested him of his fancy coat, the coat of many colors which was on him, and they grabbed hold of him, and they chucked him into the pit. And now come the magic words: the pit was empty, ein bo mayim, there's no water in it. Okay. Rashi says, and Rashi is quoting from Al Gemara, isn't it not implicit from by telling us that the pit is empty? I know there's no water there. What was the limit? What is the thing we're supposed to learn from that by telling us that there's no water there? So, as the Gemara answered, yeah, there's no water in there. But there were scorpions and serpents. Okay, just bear that in mind. Now, the other two things that we're going to need to refer to is which the Gemara refers to is the din of a sukkah and the din of a movli. So a sukkah, I think we all know what a sukkah looks like, various in its various forms. But the Mishnah says, sukkah shehi gavoy l'malam yesrim am. If a sukkah is more than 20 amas high, pasula, it's invalid. All right. Now the Gemara asks, how do we know that you can't have a sukkah that's more than 20 amas high? Omar Rabbi, so Rabbi said it's because the Omar Krok, because the pasuk in the Torah says you've got to build these sukkahs. Why? In order that your generations shall know and shall appreciate that I protected the children of Israel in sukkahs when they were in the middle. There's actually a difference of opinion as this, if this was sukkahs mamash, actual sukkahs like we sit in, or whether it's a reference to the protective clouds of glory that accompanied the Bnei Israel through the midbar. But this particular one is following the view, I think, of sukkahs mamash. So it says like this. It says the Gemara, at Esriv Amma, up until a height of 20 Ammas, Adam Yodea Shehu Dar B'Sukkah. A person realizes that he's sitting in a sukkah. L'mayla mi'esrim amma, but if it's more than 20 Ammas high, Ein Adam Yodea Shehu Dar B'Sukkah. He's not conscious of that he's living in a sukkah. Why? Mishum de lo sholta ba'ena. Because the eye doesn't naturally go up that high. If you follow the line of the walls, if it's say the height of the ceiling in here, which is certainly higher than is required for a sukkah, you realize you're inside something which has got a covering, and the whole din of sukkah is the covering, is the sukkah that's above you. But if it's so high up, sometimes when you go into, I don't know, like an exhibition hall or something like that, you're aware of the things that are around you, but you don't actually see. In fact, fairly often, if you look at the ceiling, you get a surprise because all you see are all the pipes and air conditioning and things like that. If it's out of view, so you're not really conscious of it. So that's a din in sukkah. The schach must not be more than 20 amas high. There's a parallel din in erevim. Now let me just explain the picture that you'll see there. So in the time of the Talmud, people lived these like this. It's a basic diagram. They lived in the little houses, and very often, two houses shared a chotzer, a courtyard. So this is, and then the courtyard. So houses, you would come out of your house into the courtyard, and then there would be a sort of a gateway from the chotzer that led into a movli, which is like an alleyway. It was usually blocked off at one end, as shown in this diagram, and the other end led out into the Rishus HaRabim, into the street. So if you came from the street, you would go in through the entrance of the movli, then into your chotzer, and then into your homes. Now on Shabbos, as you know, there are restrictions in carrying from one Rishus, from one domain to another. So for the people in the houses, they would make what's called an Eruv Chatzeros, which would effectively join their two homes and the Chatzer together. That was usually like it would be a loaf of bread or something. You usually use a box of matzahs or something. You'll see in Edra Das, there's a box of matzahs up there on the wall. That's the Eruv for the whole of Edra. But people would make an Eruv Chatzeros between them. And if you lived, for instance, in a block when I was a student, I lived in a block of there were 4 flats, and there was no Eruv in town. This is in Manchester. and we had to make an eruv with the other people in the building so that we could carry our door keys and things within the corridors of the flats. So here you've got the same idea. If you want to take vessels from your home into the chotzer, you have to have an eruv chotzeres with your neighbor. But then, in addition, if you want to be able to carry from the chotzer into the mavui is not a reshus harabim; it's not a public thing, but it's somewhere in between. So there was another kind of an eruv that was made, shitufei muvois, where they put a barrel of oil or something in the alleyway, and all that would enable all the people in these homes to carry from their homes into the mavui, into the alleyway. But one other thing that they needed to do, and that made a hechsher to the mavui, they had to put something symbolic up at the end of the mavui to indicate that you're about to enter the Rishus Harabim, to avoid the possibility that people would carry out into the Rishus Harabim, which would be an Issa D'Oraisa. And so to do that, you've got a choice. You either have a lechi, which is labeled Aleph on this diagram. That's a pole, it's about a tefach wide. It's erected at the end of the thing. Or better still, what you have is two either side, and above it you put a kora, a beam, and that's labeled base and is beautifully colored in green. Now the Mishnah says, "Movli shehu gavoy lamala me'esrim." If you've got a movli where that beam is more than 20 amos high, nothing to it. It doesn't work. Therefore, the Mishnah says Yema 8. You have to lower it till it gets to within the 20 amos. And that's the same idea, because the point of this thing is to remind the people, I might be going out into the Rishus Harabim. It's got to be something that you're going to notice. And if it's more than 20 amos high, you won't notice it. Those are the two things. Now all right. What the Torah Tamima says as follows. He says Reuven, and for that matter his brothers, could not have known that this pit contained snakes and scorpions. All right, because Reuven had in mind, I'm going to save him. Right, he's going to save. He's going to come back afterwards and save him, returning to his father. And his brothers also didn't know that there were snakes and scorpions in there, because they didn't want him to be safe. They wanted him to die there. And so there was it's a great suchus that despite of all of this, that Yosef survived, because they didn't know he was going to be sold on to the Midyanim and so on. And even Nebuchadnezzar, the evil Nebuchadnezzar, after he saw the miracle of Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah that were thrown into the fiery furnace and they survived, he did teshuvah. In fact, I've seen somewhere that Nebuchadnezzar wanted to convert to Judaism. It's a strange thing. He gave orders for the base mikdash to be destroyed and everything. But apparently, when these things happened to him later in life, he did teshuvah. Now, so therefore, it says for hishlichu ha'bora, they threw him into the pit. So it must have been the case that this pit was at least 20 amos deep. And we know this from the passage in Talmud, which we brought before. Ein hashlocha pochs, when it says hishlichu, you're going to throw something, got to be 20 amos. And we've also established the principle that if it's more than 20 amos, a person can't see down there, he wouldn't notice even if it was above him. So now he goes on to this point of why this little passage is suddenly stuck in the middle of Hilchos Chanukah. And he says like this. says the fact that Yosef was rescued from the pit is in itself an ace, because at the end of Yevamos, as he brings from all over the place, at the end of Yevamos, it says that if a person fell into a pit full of snakes and serpents, and people testified to the fact that that's what happened. For sure he died, for sure he was killed, and you would permit his wife to remarry. Normally, if a person goes missing, unless you know for sure he's been died, the woman, that's a proper aduna. That's what an aduna is a person. You don't know whether the husband died or not. If he dropped into or fell into a pit such as this, with such a hazardous thing with snakes and serpents, we would allow a woman to remarry on the strength of that, even if we don't recover the body. So therefore, it would seem that B'derech HaTeva, by natural means, Yosef could not have been rescued from such a fate. So therefore, there is a connection with Hanukkah, because the whole of Hanukkah we celebrate the Nes, or the many Nisim that took place at the time of Hanukkah. So that's one reason, says the Torah, why the placement of this particular Joshua in the middle of Hanukkah makes sense. But secondly, he points out that there's a din in Hanukkah that you're not supposed to put the Hanukkah left higher than 20 amas. Why? Because people won't see it. And the whole point of Nero's Hanukkah is is to publicize the miracle that took place. And so therefore, with putting those things together, says the Torah Tumima, this makes sense as to why this little passage at first sight seems out of place in this passage of the Gemara in Shabbos. That's why it's inserted there. So that's basically what I really wanted to share with you this morning. I think I've probably over okay, and so I hope in due course, when we read this supplement during the laning, not this week but next week, it'll trigger a thought, and you realise why does Rashi say, yeah, there's no water in the thing, but there were serpents and snakes. There's a little bit more to it than at first meets the eye.
Very much. That's very good. There's about one information. Yeah.
How did the Gaelic see the bottom of the pit?
Okay. Thank you very much. That was very interesting, and I will say goodbye to those on Zoom. See you next week, and I'll do the. Oh, okay.